Good evening, and welcome to another exciting, adventurous platform that we're going to have for you guys tonight. All in politics, once again, or the All In Network, being presented by who? You know it, your boy, Walt the Damager, along here with my co host,
At Rob Cooper. What's going on, my family?
my man. We've been at this place before where the fork meets the road, and I guess the rubber meets the road as well. So, as we always do at this time, won't you bring us up to speed on this vainglorious day that we're looking at with this debate in our past and the votes in our midst?
Well, as you know, last night we're recording this. It's October the 23rd. I'm COVID got my dates all jacked up. But yesterday on October the 22nd, we had the debates with Joe Biden and Donald Trump going at their second and last debate. As you recall, the official second one was canceled, and we'll talk a little bit about that. But as everybody remembers, the first debates were a little wild. It was like the WWE out there, and Joe Biden came through that with a knockout. And I'll say that not just because of the performance, but the polling numbers showed that. I think going into the first debate, Joe Biden was up in most national polls by about seven points, and shortly after that. The Joker shot up to like 14 points. And, since that first debate, Donald Trump contracted COVID. That's on the heels of the New York Times story, right? That was actually right before the first debate, showing that he paid $750 in taxes. And fast forward to that, the second debate was canceled because Donald didn't want to do it virtually. And I don't understand why everything's done virtually right now, including what we're doing. And you can get to so many more people, at least 70 million people. Why he chose the opportunity, not to kind of make up some ground and talk to, his base and talk to and energize his base, is yet to be known. But the debates was a strong debate. And before we get into the actual content of the debate, let's look at some of the numbers, man. Looking at first, I want to start with the real numbers, the general election numbers.
Them
So
539 numbers?
yes, they're not 538 yet, but let's talk about
538.
let's
Right.
talk about the real numbers right
The
now.
raw numbers.
Right, because Trump will tell you the 538 numbers ain't real. So let's go to the real numbers first. And right now, man, 53.4 million Americans in about approximately 40 states have voted already, man. So that is actually that is completed all of the that's more than every early vote 4 years ago. And we still got a roughly 10 or 11 days left until elections. So that is huge. 38 of those 37 million of those 53 million votes were done by mail, and 16 million were done in person. And we're starting to see that in person number, continue to rise on a daily basis as folks feel more comfortable, going and standing in line and casting those ballots, just because of some of the fears that were placed to them, about a month ago by Donald Trump. And if we go down, one thing I love about this site is it kind of breaks down, where those numbers are coming from. And there's about 20 states that are transparent. As I mentioned earlier, about 40 states are doing early voting right now. 20 of those states are a little bit more transparent with their data, and they share information like party affiliation and things like that. And as you can see on the screen, the Democrats, about 12 million Democrats have voted, which is about a 50% return rate. Republicans are voting at a 6.5 million voter rate, and that's about 27.1%. And then, of course, and when you get down to no party affiliation or independent, like our producer Elijah Cooper, those about 22% of the ballots that have been returned. And then if we go to 538, now this is the numbers that Trump liked to call, you know, I guess the fake numbers. You can see right now, and you can see it the screen, you can see why he's calling it fake, because 538.com, Nate Silver's group, who's been doing an outstanding job over the last maybe 12 years of predicting elections. And by the way, they haven't gotten one election wrong, including 2016 as well, even though Donald Trump will say they got it wrong, but they didn't get it wrong because Hillary did win the popular vote, so they were spot on even then. They are giving Donald Trump a 13% chance of being reelected. And of course, the challenger, Vice President Joe Biden, an 87% chance to win. So, you know, leading into that, and I will say that those numbers were roughly the same going into the debate last night. So that brings us to the discussion of the debate, of the presidential debate. You know, well, because the first debate was, you know, went off the rails. I don't know if people saw some of the Saturday Night Live skits on it. It was extremely funny. It was probably as funny as the real thing. But what is not funny, I think, is you know, the performance of Donald Trump. And I think you know, he needed a knockout in this debate, and quite frankly, just kind of jump into the conclusion there. I don't believe he got that.
No, and just to piggyback off of where we're at in the state of affairs for the American voter and the American way of life, that's just it. It appears that he thinks that this is a skit. This is some type of reality show or some type of thing that can be toiled with, when there are actual people losing their lives, when there are actual people not knowing where their medical coverage is coming from, insurance is coming from, not knowing where their next job is coming from. So Biden did address how he would take care of these things in a nutshell, whereas Trump is more of a deflector. He likes to throw things into the mix to muddy the water, so that way he doesn't have to speak to the real problem. I believe Ms. Welker did an excellent job, as well as you know, facilitating the debate, and actually let him hang himself by giving him the rope and a platform to speak or not speak, as to what his policies and what he would plan for America for another 4 years, which I believe he absolutely flopped on.
I agree. You know, I know a lot of people, you know, said that Christian Welker did an outstanding job of moderating the debate and keeping both of the candidates on task and on topic. You know, and to your point, I agree with you 1000%. It really left for an opening for Donald Trump to pretty much hang himself in a couple things. I think a couple things that came across to me was he truly showed to the American people that he really doesn't care about them. And I was thinking about this today when I, you know, post debate as I was, you know, walking around my neighborhood and had a chance to see some of the Trump signs and Trump flags that still are propped up in our development. Not as many as they were in 2016, and quite frankly, not as many as there were a few weeks ago. It looks like some of them are very subtly starting to come down as they see, you know, the polling numbers are not necessarily moving in their favor, and particularly the favor of Donald Trump. But I thought about this, Walt. I said, wow, what if Donald Trump over these last 4 years just took care of his base, meaning providing them with the health care that they needed, giving them more than $1,200 during the pandemic, you know, holding down their jobs, not the jobs that he promised to bring back, but at least helping them keep the jobs that 50 million of them lost over the last 7 months during the pandemic. What if he just took care of his base as opposed to the 1% billionaire? How great this country would be right now. Truly would. You know, he truly would have made America great again.
Well, let's look at it. I'm glad you said that. Not to cut you off. Let's look at the psychology behind it. Does his base want change?
Mm-hmm.
Or are they in a cult of personality where they're aligned with believing the hyperbole and the allegorical statements that come from out his mouth, but don't want no real substance.
Right.
Because everything that was thrown at him, and they're told over and over again that, this is going to happen, this is going to happen, but it's been happening on this administration.
I agree. And I remember, going back, 4 years ago, because obviously, you and I have talked about this before. We were huge fans of Barack Obama, the 44th president of the United States. It was a very proud moment in 2008 when he was elected as the first African American president in the United States history. Quite frankly, we didn't want to see him leave. And, I never forget, having a conversation with Elijah right before we were walking and heading to the polls. By the way, Elijah's our producer tonight, does a great job, all the graphics and things like that. That comes courtesy of him, the founder of All In Politics, along with Mike Bassett. But we, as we discussed, as we were on our way to the polls, we kind of dragged our feet there. We weren't excited, neither Hillary or Donald Trump in 2016 really provided that excitement for us. In fact, I'm sure Elijah won't mind me quoting him. And if I quote him wrong, he'll hit his mic button, come on and say I'm wrong, but I don't think I am. But he said, Dad, man, it's amazing, man. We gotta go to the polls and vote for two races, and that was the feeling of a lot of folks, and particularly a lot of the young African American men who were, voting for president maybe for the first time, or maybe the second time. The first time they voted for president was for Barack Obama. They kind of came through their adolescence and teenage years with a positive Black president who was not only a great leader, but a constitutional scholar, a guy who was well-spoken and who was able to communicate not just to African American youth, but to youth coming from all diverse backgrounds. And I think, Hillary Clinton didn't kind of continue on that momentum, and no fault to her, but I think she just came from a different kind of realm. I think she came from a different kind of, it was a different class, and she came from a Democratic Party that was, very different than it was, in 2008 and 2012. And I think with Biden coming into the fold, of course, he had a fierce fight with Bernie Sanders, who, I credit, the utmost, and I have the utmost respect for Bernie because, Bernie came in and really pushed the issues. He didn't make anything personal. He just pushed the issues and forced, Joe Biden to, pick up a platform that was conducive to the masses. And I think, for the first time, man, and truly 8 years now, I see that excitement. I see that buzz in the air, and I might be wrong. Maybe the data is telling us something. Maybe the data is fooling us. I'm certainly not overconfident. I'm very cautious in what I say. But I tell you, and you said it too. I'll quote you. You called me one day. You said you're feeling good. So I mean, tell the people, man, why are you feeling good right now?
For the most part, is familiarity. We are accustomed to what Joe had implemented. I know a lot of people are going to go back and say, but Walt, 47 years. I understand it's 47 years, but it was 8 years prior to that 47 where he was elected for 2 terms. And if people have those concerns and convictions, it should have been brought up during the Obama administration when he chose his running mate as Joe Biden. That's when the people could have came to the forefront like, hey, this guy isn't suitable to be the vice president because of his tumultuous background or his tainted background, how he feels about African Americans and this, that, and the third, carrying on his track record. Because believe me, if you're someone that's tainted and don't have that good principles, moral compass, and things of that, I'm not voting for you. You're not going to be on my team. I don't want you to do anything for me, but just to stay away. So, with that being said, with all this being known now, this information still existed with his Obama years.
That's
And then
right.
it wasn't one term. It wasn't one term. It was two terms. So, with this predator statement and him going against blacks, and then the statement he had when he was on the campaign, I guess somebody took a soundbite of him saying, "I don't work for you."
Right.
They took it out of context, meaning individually he don't work for one individual for a country. It's a country, so it's a whole population. It's a whole demographic, different demographics, everybody, and he's carrying on that moniker till today. He's not uh, the blue person's president. He's not the red person's president. He's the American president. So his platform was well and sound. Like I said, I know he's done some good things and has a propensity to do good things. And you gave Trump a chance. Let him get in there. Under the Obama administration, some things could have been done better, but is more transparent. You don't have to worry about secret police coming out to your neighborhood. You don't have to worry about racists coming out to your neighborhood. People wanting to beat you down the street and say it's all in the name of Antifa, protagonist, antagonist, and things of that nature. No, everything is on face value.
It's interesting, and it seems like a lot of these things and a lot of this information, or should we call it misinformation, is done basically to suppress the vote. And whose vote are they? Let's be real, man. Whose vote are they really trying to suppress? And the voters who they're really trying to suppress are the African American votes and the votes of the young people. Those are, when black people and young people of all races, when they vote, that spells disasters for the ruling class in the establishment. And MSNBC, breaking news, MSNBC just mentioned that 78,000 voters who voted for Obama but sat out the last election came back and voted in Florida. This is actually in Florida. So 78,000 voters who voted for Obama in Florida but sat out in the 2016 elections have come back and voted already in the early voting during the early voting time period. So
Well,
that just goes to show you, and there's some other news from Mother Jones. I encourage people to Google Mother Jones. They have an article out talking about how voter suppression may backfire now on the Republicans. And I'll say this too, as we start to see right now, I think Pennsylvania just reversed a rule that the Republicans tried to put in place where they were going to match signatures or throw out ballots that didn't match signatures. And, the other piece where they're going to cut off time for folks to vote in Pennsylvania. If your mail-in ballot was postmarked on November 3rd, which is election day, if it wasn't counted or was not received by the election officials on that day, they were not to count it. Well, the Supreme Court voted, against that as well. You see in Texas where the governor chose to suppress the vote by, making every instead of having ballot boxes or drop in ballot boxes, plentiful and easy to identify and locate in various counties throughout Texas. They said only one ballot box per county in Texas, which is absurd, particularly when you talk about Harris County, which is the home of Houston, Texas. Harris County, for those who don't know, of course, we know it's there with Houston, Texas, which is a major city, or probably a top 5 city in the United States. But also, the county is as large as the state of Rhode Island. So, folks can pretty much travel an hour and a half, who live in that county to get to Houston to drop off their ballots. Well, guess what? The folks are doing that. The folks are, so and to the droves now. Texas has currently registered 6 million votes. That's more than California, which has 40 million people in California. Texas has 6 million votes. And for the first time, I think that we've seen in our lifetime, even though it's in opinion polling, we saw that Joe Biden has taken a 1-point lead in Texas. So the possibility that Texas may go blue is for many of you folks who are listening to this podcast or watching us on YouTube weren't even born the last time. Mm-hmm. I was fortunate enough to be born during that time. 1976 was the last time that Texas went blue. So we're looking at some historical numbers right now through early voting. And what you're going to see, and I'm going to make this prediction, you're going to see that many of the laws that the Republicans put in place with the intent on suppressing primarily the black, the poor, and the youth vote, they're going to now either pull those judgments out of court or ask for the judges to rule against them, because it looks like to me they're going to need some relief when it comes to election day. Mark my words, I can almost guarantee you that the Republicans will be in court suing to keep the polls open beyond the 8 o'clock, which is a tactic that you normally see by Democrats. But you're going to see Republicans because, they fell on the sword for Donald Trump, who, in my opinion, in great error, convinced them somehow to wait till election day to vote, while 53 million Americans have already cast their ballots. I think we're going to see the backfire of voter suppression, and I think it's going to hurt them in the end.
Exactly. And let's bring something into perspective. I mean, let's look at it for all it's worth. Let's look at all the eggs in the basket. The real deal behind this voter suppression is, I've said this on many occasions, and the one thing that brought my attention to it was Trump just canceled the census count. So let's come on, man. Let's talk about the elephant in the room.
Yes, sir.
They seen numbers that probably shook the hell out of them to the core. They realize now, and as I've always said, the people of color margin has exponentially risen above the threshold for which they expected, either in life expectancy, mortality rates, or whatever else may have you. I believe we're in a time now where there's a seismic change in the demographics, and I believe that the African American vote is greatly appreciated. Where if we came together as a force, a driving force, I believe change can be determined by our unity.
I agree 1,000%. This podcast is brought to you by All In Network. Don't forget to head over to allinnetwork.net to find all of our podcasts, including the All In Podcast, Rain and Bliss Podcast, Real Deal Radio, All In Politics, and the Beast Gaming Podcast, all in one platform. Now you can go to allinnetwork.net. Or you can go to some of your favorite podcast platforms like Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, and Spotify, to name a few. But you also want to go to YouTube. This is where you can catch all the videos of all of our All In podcasts on our YouTube channel, on our All In Network YouTube channel. And, well, man, when they go over there to that YouTube, man, give them a nice little suggestion, man. What should they do?
You know what you got to do. Grab that device that you're utilizing at the time of doing what you do when you got to do it. Jump up and down through a 360-degree turn and come back down and smash that subscribe button. Don't be nice about it. Don't be nice about it.
And put on, and you know what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go. My son Robbie got some vintage Air Jordans, the same ones that I owned back in 1985, which I paid $52 for. This joker paid $152 for his on eBay. I'm like, wow, $100 different, man. I could have just gave you my dogged out ones, man. I'm gonna put them on, and I'm gonna go over to the All In Network YouTube channel, lace them up, do a 360 smash of that
That
subscribe button. But yeah, but again, all the information that you want and you need is right there. Also, join us if you're on Facebook. Join us on our All In Politics Facebook group. Just hit us up and request to join that group, and we'll bring you in. We have some great conversations. We have some great conversations online on Facebook, talking about yesterday's podcast. We'll be heavily discussing the elections, voter suppression, information on how to file your mail-in ballots, which are certainly coming up, coming close to an end, and particularly those who live in Pennsylvania. You have till October the 27th to request your mail-in ballot. And also, if you want to become a guest on All In Politics, hit me up on Instagram at Rob Cooper Jr. on Instagram, not Twitter. But as we wrap things up, Walt, man, I think we got 11 days left until election time. How do you see this thing? How do you see this race going, man?
At this time, we can't take our foot off the gas. I mean, we gotta drive this thing all the way into November 2nd, with the strong surgeon's force that's going to lead for change. And it doesn't stop there. After the elections, and there is a winner or a person identified as the next president of the United States, we got to stay on top of them, because I mean, the changes don't come unless we as a force make them come. So we can't get lackadaisical like back in the Obama era, thinking that just one president was going to do one thing for one people. It doesn't work like that. We got to get people galvanized and motivated to get towards your local and area surrounding municipalities and vote locally. I mean, because in order for you to get legislation passed, you got to start small. Just like last week, we was talking about Ice Cube and other people, proponents that try to get laws passed. You go from the top, you try to go to the top and work your way down. That's not how it goes. And then you find yourself caught in the middle of a juxtaposition, because people looking at it as if you're trying to take an advantage for yourself, like there's a self gain for it, where that may not be the case. I mean, there's a lot of good intentions that's played, but it doesn't work out in a way or the fashion that you may, find out that it leads to in the end.
And I got something to say, for folks out there, in particular, social media content. And again, you most of your, if you got a social media account, that means you're an adult, and you really should be responsible when you get on these sites. But I'm just going to say this, and I'm going to get this off my chest. It's okay to support a candidate. If you support Joe Biden and you're going to vote for Joe Biden, tell us that you're going to support him and why you're going to support him. If you support Donald Trump, by all means, support Donald Trump and vote for Donald Trump, and tell us why you're going to support, Donald Trump. But what I don't want to hear from anyone out there, if you don't support neither of the candidates and things like that, or you're choosing not to vote, man, just STFU, for real. You know what I mean? Because we're not trying to hear that energy no more, man. So, either you're going to vote for your candidate, support your candidate, or get out of the way. All this hotep hustler and encouraging people not to vote is crazy, because by the numbers, they're not listening to you anyway. So you're wasting your time, and most likely you're wasting your energy. And that's my editorial comment there. I have no issues with those who support Donald Trump. You know what I mean? If you got, compelling reasons to support him and you're going to vote for him, that's your right. And I would, fight to the, 10th degree to protect your rights to do that. But what I will not tolerate are those of you out here encouraging people not to exercise their constitutional right and vote. I'm just going to call you straight up, just like Joe called Donald in debate number 1. You're a clown.
Right. But not only that, if you feel as though nobody is a formidable candidate that you see in front of you, then let's grow somebody up from the grassroots. Let's get somebody of the people, for the people, that's definitely going to put out there something that will aspire and uplift the people. I mean, there's only but so much you can do when you only corner yourself into a position where the candidates or the individuals that's coming out that's claiming that they represent you and you don't feel as though it's such, then that's why I say you got to go to your local municipalities and stuff, and let's upbreed people to get them into a position that can place them in that position.
That's right. Well, Walt D, won't you take us home, my brother? Great
All
show.
right. Again, it was a great show, man. We appreciate the commentary, man. A lot of stuff was learned today. Definitely got to get out there for the people to place that vote because, like I said, we can't have an individual in office that doesn't have the interests of all people. Not saying that the African American is getting anything well off from this guy, because I keep hearing it, you keep hearing it, we all keep hearing that he done this illustrious thing for black people. And then we're not going to let him slide with that BS platinum plan that he tried to usher the people, thinking that that's the damn golden ticket for a successful life for people of color. Get the hell out of here. Also, they shouldn't forget that he said out his mouth on debate night that he paid $750 in taxes. Let's stop. That's a misnomer. He said that was a filing fee. So if you didn't catch that, then you absolutely are a clown. He paid zero in taxes. $750 was a filing fee. So with all that being said, the choice is yours. Like the great group Black Sheep had said back in the day, you can go with this or you can go with that. So with that being said, like I said, I appreciate the time. The conversation is always great. Like you said, if you want to get on here and be a member on the All In podcast, click comments, get at him at Rob Jr. Cooper at Rob Jr. Cooper at Instagram, and let's make this happen. This show is for dialogue and for intellectuals that like to converse. Let's bring the dialogue back because we can't get nowhere else without each other. So on that note, I bid you adieu.